Hello, friends. If you haven't seen me before and you don't know my story, my name's Andy. And around 7 years ago, I began a downward spiral. Prior to that point 7 years ago, I was a highly successful real estate agent, business owner. I'd been in real estate for 25 years. I'd had a lot of success in my career, in my life. And I'd also experienced a lot of failures, like any entrepreneur. Um, but the reason for me being here right now is I just wanted to share a little bit of my story and then talk about releasing control. Because as an entrepreneur, as a visionary in my business, I always had this skill or innate talent that God had given me, of vision. Like, I've always had vision. I've always been able to see things a little bit differently than most people see them and see things that people don't see. And a lot of times that means I see them before. And if I feel like inside of me that it's a trend that is something that might benefit my business, then um, I've had enough of that entrepreneurial spirit inside of me to just move forward. Like, I'm a pioneer by nature. I'm a risk taker. And when I believe in something and I see it and I see it clearly in my mind, then I typically have no fear on just pushing that forward. Um, so with that being said, like, I've always been a visionary. I've always been able to see things point A to point B very clearly, know where I need to go, and then I just move. So that means that I've always been in control, or at least I had a semblance, or I felt like I had control over my life, over my actions, over the direction that my life was going. And 7 years ago, I hit a period where, over about a 3 to 4 year span of time, I had many traumatic events hit my life, not all at once, but back to back to back to back to back to back. Prior to that, I had lived my life, with small traumas throughout my entire life. I just always felt different. I always felt different. As a child, I experienced emotional neglect, and because of that, like, I just kind of retreated into a shell of myself. Like, I just never felt safe in any environment that I've ever been in. And because of that feeling of control, and leading up to the point of those 7 traumatic events, I'll just name them very quickly. I had a business deal that went wrong and I lost a lot of money. And more than that, because I can replace the money, I lost faith in people. I was in business with people who, like, I thought they loved me and I thought that they cared about me. They called me brother. They were I don't know about spiritual, but they were supposedly godly. And I learned that coming out of that business venture that they were not. So, lesson learned there, but I lost faith in people. My son was diagnosed with cancer. My mother-in-law, ALS, around the same time. So we were battling cancer and ALS, kind of simultaneously. And that turned our lives completely upside down. Prior to the cancer diagnosis, my wife at the time and I, we were talking about getting a divorce. And once we heard about the cancer and the ALS, we stopped talking about that. So we lived as more or less roommates for the next 3.5 years. Um, so after ALS, COVID hit, and we all know what COVID did to people. And so after that, I closed my business after building blood, sweat, and tears into that business over about an 11, 12-year period and doing very, very well. Um, so that, and then divorce. And by the time the divorce hit, I was checked out. My nervous system had had enough. I was shut down. Um, and and I slowly unraveled everything. I slowly unraveled everything and then began isolating myself and withdrawing from the world because throughout my previous life, I had never felt safe. So by that point, after all of the trauma that my nervous system had experienced, I definitely did not feel safe. And I lost everything. And coming out of that experience, it led me to a point about 6 months ago where I, I just, after 7 years of just struggle, God stripping everything away from me. And when I say everything, I mean everything. I didn't want to go on. I lost hope in life. All my relationships were in tatters. I didn't have really many relationships because I had isolated myself from the world. And because of that, like, I just didn't want to go on anymore. And after a long, like a 10-hour period of like just toiling and struggling with what to do with my life, I decided that I wanted to move forward. I made the choice to figure out what was wrong with me and how to fix me. And so that's what I did. About November 1st through December and then early January, something that I never would have expected in a million years happened to me. God came into my life. God, source, the divine creator of the universe. And I had turned my back on God for many years. Because I just didn't think he knew who I was. He didn't care about me. And so when he came into my life, it was a shock. It was a shock, and not one day has ever been the same since that day. I've experienced miraculous things over the past 6 months. My life has completely changed. And getting back to where I started this video was I have had to learn how to release control. And that maybe has been one of the hardest things that I've ever had to do in my entire life, because as I started the video, I've always been in control, or I felt like I was in control. I've always known what to do. I've always been a provider. I was the only worker in my home for 20 years. So I've raised 3 kids, a wife, built a business, had successes, had struggles, failed, won, lot of accolades throughout my career. And like, I felt like I knew what I was doing, and I felt like I was in control. And like, I always figured out a way through. I am a resilient motherfucker. If there's one thing about me, I am resilient. And I've proven that, especially over these past 6 months. But through this process and through God coming into my life, and not only coming into my life, I say that he came into my life, and it's like it's not like one day I woke up and went, God, I need help me. And all of a sudden I just felt better and felt like I had direction. No, God came into my body. And has never left ever since, left me with a spirit that guides my life at this point. And that is just truth. If you would have said that 8 months ago that I was going to be talking about a spirit being in my body and guiding me, a spirit of God, I would have said you're batshit crazy. And I would have firmly believed that and meant it and went like literally, you're crazy. But it's the truth now. And so I've had to come to terms with me not being in control of my life any longer. God has made it very clear to me that there is a very specific purpose for my life. and just trusting when I have absolutely, well, I was going to say I have absolutely no reason to trust, but I do, because I've witnessed and I've experienced so many things over the past 6 months that are unexplainable, that can only be possible through God being in my life, in my body, and guiding like pretty much every aspect of my life at this point. But relinquishing control is difficult when you've been a high achiever, you've been driven. I don't know if you like understand personality profiles, but I've been a high level business and real estate coach for a lot of my career. And for many years, I used a personality profile called the DISC, and I'm a high D, high I, which means I'm an achiever. I'm highly driven. Like I see something and I go after it. I just don't have a lot of fear. I move forward. I even if it might not be the exact right direction, if I believe in that direction, then I just move forward. I move forward with faith in my abilities, myself. I've always had a high level of confidence. I've established and built many skills over the years that I believed in. I believed in myself. But those things don't matter anymore where I'm heading, because I'm a passenger on God's bus, the divine architect of this universe that is dropping this snow on me right now has plans for me. And giving up control and just trusting is hard. This past week, I've hit a couple points where, like, believing that the path ahead is the right path or is actually going to happen because of my impatience, and maybe I as a human on this earth have my own intentions, my own plans, my own thoughts. They just don't matter anymore. And I've realized over the past couple of days that when you relinquish control, when you know that God is in control and he's got the reins of your life, if you try to hold on to any portion of your life and like just to keep a semblance of control, you're gonna have challenges. And so I've had to figure out a way to just completely say, God, Spirit, you've got this. Whatever position I'm in right now, because like the reality is he has stripped everything away from me in my life at this point in time. I have no, well, I was gonna say I have no ego left, but like we all have ego, I'm human. But I've been stripped of the vast majority of my ego. I have clarity. I have purpose. I see his plan for my life. And because of that, I just have to be at peace with knowing that whatever happens next is going to happen next, and that he's in control, and just be at peace with that, which is hard for somebody that's built like me, for anybody. But somebody that's just been so in control for so long, to get to this point where you literally have nothing in your life but a plan that's been given to you by God, and faith that that plan is going to come to fruition. He's shown me the life that is ahead of me because of all of the struggles that he's put me through. And there was always a purpose for the struggles that I've been through, and they are to forge me in fire. All of the struggles that I've been through, especially the past 7 years, where I've just been stripped of everything, every worldly possession, everything has been stripped away from me. And when you're in that position, you have nothing left but to have faith in God. And he's gonna, I believe in my heart and in my soul, because my soul has a desire to have a wonderful life. And I have a lot of hope for the future ahead of me, where I have no reason to have hope unless I have a plan to dig myself out of this, and he's made it clear that this is his plan and it's not mine. So today I sit here in this forest, humbled, with literally zero earthly possessions to my name. I have some clothes. That's about it. Stripped of my ego. Just left with my faith. And that's what I'm left with. And I believe that that's going to be enough. So here in the very near future, we're going to see where this journey takes me. And I'm excited. Little nervous at the same time. And in reality, I'm more excited than anything else, because I know he has a purpose for my life. So I never would have expected to be in this position, to be in this spot. And I'm grateful, because the person that I am today is not the person that I was 6 months ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago. And he's helped me build a strong foundation to build an empire. And that is where I'm heading. So put your faith in God, open your heart, and allow him in to your life. And I would say, more than anything else, before you can even do that, you need to learn how to love yourself. Love yourself enough to strip all the shit out of your life that doesn't serve you, the relationships that don't serve you. I look around, I look at my past and the relationships that I've been in, and did I ever really feel like true love from those relationships? Were they worthy of the person that I am now? No, I don't believe so. And that's because I'm a different person, and I've learned how to love myself. I've stripped away all of the darkness inside of me, and I've found a new path forward. So that is an update on this phase of my journey. I've been kind of quiet because I've just been internal, and I've been like gathering my strength. And honestly, over the past couple days, I've been struggling, because I'm at the precipice of greatness. I feel like I'm at the edge of this cliff, and I see this beautiful promised land out in the distance. And I'm just waiting for God to put the slide at the top of that cliff so I can just slide down into it. And that's where I'm at. And just before you hit those type of points, this has been my experience on this journey, this awakening journey. Like any of the shit that's still inside of you, it comes up to the surface. And it needs to find a way out, because you can't take that shit with you into the promised land. That's the reality. And I'm grateful for every phase of this journey, as hard as it's been, as much struggle as I've been through. I wouldn't change anything. So I'm going to leave you with one thing. One thing. Be kind to yourself especially, and also to others.